Tommy was cruising behind a red Jeep in a construction zone with autopilot engaged when traffic came to an abrupt stop. The driver of the red Jeep tried to swerve around a black Lexus before rear-ending it. Tommy managed to avoid hitting both vehicles, but sadly, the driver behind him didn't react quickly enough and rear-ended Tommy's Tesla, shoving it into the black Lexus. Immediately following the collision, the interior of his Tesla started filling with smoke because the pyro fuse had gone off, severing the high-voltage cables. Tommy lowered the windows while the Tesla automatically contacted emergency services. Thankfully, nobody was seriously injured. The Tesla was sadly totaled, and almost 3 months later, Tommy is still waiting for an insurance settlement. His family members, who also have app access to his Tesla, all got phone notifications that the car had suffered a catastrophic failure and was calling 911. At the time, they had no idea what Tommy's condition was, but thankfully he was fine. Tommy hadn't had a USB drive plugged into his Tesla and was worried that footage might not have been captured. But when he reached out to Tesla, they were able to retrieve it and send him a copy. Good save, Tesla! Cheeks had left his Tesla charging in a Disneyland parking lot for about an hour when it was suddenly and viciously attacked. You may not be surprised to see something like this happen, but you might be surprised to find out that the vandal was also in a Tesla. The passenger of a Tesla that parked next to Cheeks slammed his door into it full force, damaging the side of Cheeks' Tesla no fewer than 7 times. Cheeks received a notification on his phone informing him that Sentry Mode had recorded an event. He had no idea what had begun to play out in the Disneyland parking lot. The passenger got out and began walking in front of the Tesla while the driver also got out, unplugged his own charging cable, and inspected the damage his passenger had just inflicted in the rage attack. The driver tried to brush the damage away, which obviously didn't work. He then jumped back into his Tesla Model Y and peeled out before his angry passenger returned. When he did, Cheeks' Sentry Mode got a perfect shot of his face. Now, Cheeks needs your help identifying the man who attacked his Tesla. If you recognize him, send us a message and we'll forward the info to law enforcement. When the vandal realized his friend had abandoned him, he made himself scarce. Cheeks filed a police report and informed Disneyland security. The police told Cheeks they'd need more information about the offender's vehicle to open an investigation, and he hoped Disneyland security could help with that. But they refused to provide any of that sensitive information. This has left Cheeks with nothing to go on, so if you know who this guy is, he really needs your help. 5 minutes after his friend left him behind, the attacker came back to Cheeks' Tesla to peer through the windows before leaving again. Did he think it was his friend's Tesla? We have no idea. Fixing the damage cost Cheeks $5,000 US. Once again, if you know anything about this guy, or his friend for that matter, please let us know. Murali was driving on I-90 when traffic ahead began slowing down. Sadly, the driver of a vehicle behind him wasn't paying any attention. The driver failed to notice the stopping traffic before plowing into the back of an SUV. The SUV swerved across the entire highway to the shoulder, then turned back toward the passing lane. Incredibly, the SUV managed not to collide with any other vehicles. Murali called 911 and reported the collision, and it was later featured on the news and mentioned as the cause of a massive traffic delay in that morning's commute. Thankfully, there were no reported injuries, but all 3 lanes of the highway remained blocked for a couple of hours before everything was cleaned up. Brent was driving down a highway in Ontario, Canada, when a vehicle entering the highway spun out into the oncoming lane. Police, firefighters, and paramedics all responded to the scene. Both drivers were looked over by the first responders, and incredibly, neither was seriously injured. Sadly, both vehicles were rendered undrivable and had to be towed away from the scene. In case it wasn't obvious, the driver of the Camry was found fully responsible. Logan was on his way home from work in Sunset City, Utah. He used his turn signal to indicate for a left turn while he yielded to oncoming traffic. A Toyota Camry went around him on the right, but the driver of a Jetta behind it was distracted while pulling down their sun visor. I guess it makes sense that something like that would happen in Sunset City. Conveniently, a police officer was parked on the side of the road. He noticed the collision and responded immediately to help. Logan was unharmed, and the Jetta driver only had minor injuries from the airbag deployment. The Jetta's engine seized as a result of the collision, and it was immediately deemed totaled at the scene. Unsurprisingly, the driver was found to be at fault for the collision. The officer filled out a form with all the insurance information, and Logan contacted the Jetta driver's insurance provider 10 minutes later. An hour after he spoke with them, they accepted fault and covered all repairs to his Model 3. It took a week to get his Tesla into a repair shop and 3 weeks to fix all the damage. The final repair bill was just shy of $9,000 US. Candy Cat was driving home on a Friday afternoon with her 2 daughters. Traffic was moving very slowly when a Honda driver decided ain't nobody got time for dat. The Honda driver decided to cut around traffic on the shoulder to reach the right turn lane. But they hadn't noticed the sheriff's deputy on a motorcycle right in front of Candy Cat. The deputy immediately turned on the party lights and took off in pursuit of the Honda. Candy Cat's daughters Camelia and Livia screamed at her in unison to save the video so they could send it to Wham Baam. Actually, this isn't this family's first submission to our channel. Her husband Gava sent us the now famous video of a neighbor attacking their Cybertruck with a shovel. Raphael was driving down Highway 91 in Orange County when he noticed an SUV losing control and crashing into the median barrier. Raphael managed to avoid both the spinning SUV and the BMW in front of him. Incredibly, the SUV didn't hit any other vehicles during its spin-out. Raphael called 911 and reported the incident before continuing. This anonymous submitter was waiting at a red light when a white Jeep pulled up behind him. When the turn lane got a green light and traffic started to move, the Jeep driver also started moving without realizing he still had a red light and traffic ahead of him wasn't moving. The Jeep Wrangler smashed into the back of our submitter's Tesla before the Jeep driver backed up and turned into a gas station. Our submitter pulled over before realizing the Jeep driver wasn't stopping. He was fleeing the scene. Our submitter stomped the juice pedal and began pursuing the suspect, but then he spotted a cop and flagged him down. After our submitter quickly explained the situation, the officer told him to stay put while he chased after the Jeep. A few minutes later, the officer returned with bad news. When he asked our submitter if he had a dashcam, he was able to show him his Teslacam footage. The officer watched the video, then attached it as evidence to charges of hit and run and failure to pull over for an emergency vehicle. He then tracked down the vehicle's registered address and waited there for the suspect to return home. The cop eventually spotted the suspect returning home, then stopped him and got his information. It turned out the Jeep wasn't his, and he didn't have permission to be driving it. The officer arrested the man before providing our submitter with his insurance details. Matthew was on his way home when he encountered a BMW going the wrong way down a one-way street. Matthew stopped and waited for the wrong-way driver to back up, creating a deadlock. Eventually, the BMW driver realized his mistake and started backing up, but this ended up being quite a challenge for him. While backing up, he missed a minivan by less than an inch, then tried again and backed into a truck. He hopped a curb on his next attempt, If you thought that was it, think again. Once Matthew finally got past the BMW driver, he feared he'd flee the scene without any attempt to contact the owner of the truck he'd hit. He wasn't wrong. As Matthew pulled around, he caught a glimpse of the BMW's rear end, which was sporting a freshly broken taillight. Matthew contacted the police, and they responded to collect his Teslacam footage. The officers were impressed by the ability to review the footage on his Tesla's screen. Matthew sent them a copy of the footage while they began their search for the hit-and-run driver. While Jostin was charging his Tesla Model Y at a sports complex in Los Angeles, the driver of a white Model 3 tried to forcibly remove his charging cable. Thankfully, Jostin uses a locking ring that prevented the guy from unplugging the charging cable. Jostin's Tesla immediately alerted him to a charging problem, and when he checked the live camera feed in the Tesla app, he discovered the reason for the interruption. Jostin lives a block away, so his wife quickly drove him back to the charger to confront the man. When Jostin asked why he didn't just use the other charging plug, the guy meekly apologized. Jostin told us this incident highlights the importance of using locking rings to prevent people from unplugging Teslas at public charging stations. We've linked one in the description that runs around $10 US and could save you from the headache of returning to your Tesla only to find out some inconsiderate individual stopped your charging and you now don't have enough charge to continue. We're titling this Teslacam story, How Not to Merge Onto a Highway. A Volkswagen crossed multiple lanes of a highway immediately after entering, only to be rear-ended by a speeding Subaru. The VW then ran into the back of a stationary vehicle. Ryan looped back around and gave a witness statement to the police, and he also sent the officer a copy of his Teslacam video. Ryan wanted to thank his 12-year-old son Miles, who just replaced his USB drive with a bigger one the night before. Perfect timing. Samantha was on her way home from work, and shortly after getting into the left lane for an upcoming turn, she noticed a car rapidly approaching. When the car went over a small bump where asphalt meets concrete just before the intersection, it was enough to break the car's traction right as it passed her. This sent the car out of control and off the road before it barreled across a ditch and through a fence. Samantha found out the driver had been fleeing the police, but they were so far ahead of the police car she hadn't even seen the pursuing vehicle's emergency lights until after the wreck. When the police did catch up, they arrested the driver and detained her juvenile child. Samantha told us she overheard the police say the driver had been going 120 miles per hour when she finally wrecked. Like most of our submitters, Samantha offered to help, but the police had everything under control. When backup arrived to lock down the collision scene, Samantha gave them a statement before continuing on her way home. Kevin was eating inside a local fast food restaurant when he got a phone notification from his Tesla app. He immediately went to the window to see what was happening, but he didn't see anything wrong at first. When he went outside, he noticed several large dents on the back of his car. He couldn't tell where the dents had come from until he reviewed his Sentry Mode footage and discovered that his car had been backed into by a Tahoe leaving the parking lot. A passenger opened their door and saw the damage done, but the driver took off anyway. By the time Kevin discovered what had happened, the perpetrator was long gone. Thankfully, the Tahoe's license plate was clearly captured by Sentry Mode. When Kevin called the police, it took them less than an hour to identify the driver, and Kevin made a claim with their insurance provider to get the damage repaired. That's another big win for Sentry Mode. Menby was backing up her Model X to leave a parking lot when she noticed a stray shopping cart heading for the parked Audi in front of her. It turned out the cart wasn't heading for the Audi though. It stopped and turned around before heading straight for Menby's Tesla. She was able to back up just in time to avoid the cart attack before it rolled past her and hit a Toyota on her left. Menby wanted to shout out her kids Sahana and Anaya, who were with her when this happened, and made sure she sent us the Teslacam footage. She also shouted out her husband. Thanks to him, they watch our videos as a family every Sunday. Michael sent us this video along with the comment, "Charger drivers are always the sorest of losers." His girlfriend Emily was driving when she thought the driver of a Charger was trying to race her because he was at full throttle. She decided to show the driver just how slow combustion vehicles are. Well, Michael was right. Charger drivers really are the sorest of losers.